What does this effect of not holding babies and not comforting them when they cry, what does this have on the child?
Well, let's say you're my friend and you come to me for help as an adult and I ignore you. What's the impact on you? What are you going to believe?
I don't know. If you ignore me, I'm going to take into account what the rest of the world says.
You might, but what would you believe about my attitude towards you?
I would think you're ambivalent.
And I
They
don't
don't
care.
care.
And exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly the impact on the child. Not consciously, but unconsciously, the child makes the assumption that there's something wrong with me. I'm not lovable. The world is an unsafe place, because we learn about our worlds through how we interact with our caregivers. That's the template. If you ever raised a puppy dog, you know that how you treat that little infant animal has a huge impact on what kind of a creature they're going to develop into.
Who are the experts that thought it was a good idea to not pick up children when they're crying?
It's been going on for about 100 years, maybe even longer. Dr. Spock, I don't know if you remember the name Benjamin Spock. His book was just the most influential parenting Bible for decades, to the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And he talked about the tyranny of the baby who wants to be picked up. He says, well, how you deal with that is you walk out and you shut the door and you don't go back. In other words, you isolate the infant. Look at how hunter-gatherers raise their children. They carry their babies everywhere. I met a Cree woman once who told me in our community, kids weren't even allowed to touch the ground for 2 years. They were just held all the time. It's modern life. It's the pressure and stresses of modern life acting on parents that makes it so difficult for them to really be there for them. If you look at how human beings evolved over millions, really, of years, and hundreds of thousands of years, and even our own species has been on the earth for about 150, 200,000 years. For all that time, until the blink of an eye ago, we lived out in nature in small band hunter-gatherer groups where kids were raised communally. So that it wasn't just an isolated nuclear family or an isolated mother or father. It was grandparents and uncles and aunts and the whole community. It takes a village, as the saying goes. It takes a whole community. Children also were picked up when they cried. In fact, they were never even put down. They slept with their parents. They were breastfed for 3 or 4 years. In today's society, and I can start even before that, already we know that stresses on the pregnant women have a negative impact on the infant, physiological impact on the infant's brain development. I mean, it's not even controversial. In our society, we don't pay attention to women's emotional needs when they're pregnant, and we don't pay attention to the child's emotional needs. So the child needs to be held and accepted unconditionally. Now, in our society, we actually tell parents not to pick up their kids when they're crying. And that is an insult and a trauma to the child. And that has an impact on the child's trust in the world, sense of safety, sense of belonging, how they feel about